Good morning, everyone. I thought, I don't know. So, as you can see here, we have these dried weeds here, or vegetation that grows into these pots. So we will use the soil from this to to be an additional ingredients to our pots, other two large pots inside the garden enclosure that are ready for planting for additional carrots. And apologize you to friends. Like to apologize you to friends for the time that I supposed to wake up like 4 to I supposed to wake up at 4, but what happened to my live at dawn here? It's like 6 o'clock in the morning now. Yeah, it annoys me. It's not the time that I supposed to do the live stream. I suppose I have to start at 4. But yeah, here we are. To you quite frankly, you two friends, I have so much baggage in my brain right now. But these baggages that I cannot remove, that includes hardships, struggles, in many ways, that seems the most viable solution is to end my life. And I've been thinking this for a long time already. Yeah, I've been thinking this for a long time already. Uh, so obviously, I don't know what would be my replacement, but still baffles me. I don't know what to replace them. my life at once, yes. It's already morning here. Yeah, I'm gonna buy again. Like three, kahit mga $300, $400 na liquid. Balik naman, $20, $50. Every time I get shit. Designer. Start here more than 8 years. Stand. Just to prove that the God that the Christian have worshipped is non-existent. It's just a fabricated image by lunatic writers in the past. and others would have the testimonies to back up that it's true. They're just delusional, fantasize something, and they just have this illusion, thinking that it was real. And now I will not buy that shit anymore. I will not drink that shit. I will not forget that night. Last night. So the live at dawn series of difference. It's live at sunrise. Uh, why I will not forget last night. I will not forget that night. That experience I had last night. The Forex account got into an absolute trouble. Now it's done. Many other things I've realized that night, I cannot forget it. And that marks the change of my attitude, principle, and upliftment. Looking back myself in the past, now I realize that I was so stupid back then, giving counsels, advices, words of motivation in spiritual dimension. Ah, I was that guy, but actually, the things and the principles inside my heart is very opposite to what I have uttered in my mouth. And I said, what's going on? If this is the absolute truth that I'm holding right now, but why I have this kind of feeling? Later on, I realized that if there's no absoluteness to what you're holding, then later on the reality will come out. The problem is in the denomination that the denomination that I was in, my whole family since I was a kid, these guys are just bunch of hypocrites. Bunch of hypocrites. They can pretend themselves to be the person they claim and they profess. But in reality, deep inside they're the opposite individuals to what they claim in public. And that's worse. Worse than a liar, worse than a criminal. People who are hypocrites. And if we do evidence base of your claim about existence of your God, the scientists, the atheist people have already declared 95% of the knowledge available in the world. They have searched it thoroughly already and they couldn't find any footprints of evidence to back up the claim of Christians that the God they worship exists. Imagine that. That means there's no absoluteness, there's no concrete evidence to support your claim that your God is an existing God. It's just a fabricated idea. Like someone who was a lunatic in the past, like fabricated the idea about God and then it was passed from generation to generation and that becomes a tradition. Yeah. Before was just probably like a trick of someone to write and fabricate this kind of story, but then when it becomes popular, then it was highly regarded as uh, truth in the next generations that pass. And that's why right now what we have is the footprints of the history in which we're not sure if the people behind writing and making those histories were honest to themselves about what we have learned. So just follow what we see, what we heard, according to the book. Yeah, most all Christians will do that according to the book, according to the Holy Writ, according to the Bible. The question is how stable your Bible. This is the problem we have. We Christians, children, we were raised in a family to fear God. You know what? When I was a kid, I already have these questions in my mind, and I was always suppressed by my dad by saying, "Oh, don't say like that. You might be cursed by God. You're saying these things bad against Him like that." So I thought the God we worship, I thought the God we serve is a God of free will, a God of freedom. But why his followers are thinking the opposite. That if we question about his authority, if we question about him, if we want to know about his identity, if we want to like further ask more info about this God, then his followers would say, don't ask question like that against God because you might be cursed. What? Really? See what's going on here? What's going on here? I don't get it. And if we have that kind of a God, yeah. Oh man. What you have heard, it's all lies. Did you get the story that I'm trying to portray here? Ah. That's crazy, right? Really, really crazy. That's why last night, this is the night that I cannot forget. Just imagine, before my Forex account was burned, these thoughts in my fucking brain suddenly came up something like the concept about God, the concept about spirituality just popped up in my mind while I was in the toilet. I don't understand why. What's going on here? I'm not particular and concerned about spirituality or religion or whatever anymore. But what happened? I said to myself, what's going on? But that thought kept like pressing into my mind, and that disturbed me well to the worst, actually. And that's very disappointing why I have been such struggles. And you know what? I would rather die than continue living with this condition that I have right now. I hate this, but I have no choice. But I know I will find an absolute trigger to my suicidal situation now, and then bang, that would be my final day into this fucking world. Uh, it's my final day. I'm almost to give up here, friends. Just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. I've seen atheist people. They got married Filipina. They don't really believe God, and they even laugh to Seventh-day Adventist Christians every time he sent his wife to church. Said, "You people are wasting your time going there whole day and even other days. Instead, you have to spend that time thinking what you can do to do business and to improve your life financially. You just go there and delusionally worship, singing, praying." He said, "Look at me and many of us in Europe." He was from Belgium. "We couldn't care about your God, but we're rich because we spend our time every day thinking what we can do to improve our life financially. We are not bothered about thinking about the meeting, about the worship, about the schedule for the next." And I noticed that in most countries where it is dominated by Christians, not Catholic Christians, but other Christians, because Catholic Christians are not that active, but other denominations that still belong to, and Catholic is not a Christian, by the way. I studied theology to tell you that Catholic is an anti-Christian, but what the followers were thinking that they're Christian, but actually they're not. But that's the kind of image that the Pope, the bishops, the priests have presented to the public. So they're being lured as well in other forms. Because among Christianity, Catholics don't believe about the advent of the Christ. Catholics don't believe that there is God, there is this Jesus that will come again and rescue his people. And that's one um, requirement that makes you Christians, meaning you believe the coming of the Messiah. And Catholics don't. So that's why they don't belong to the Christianity category. I'm just giving you a small trivia about it. in case you might want to know further. I studied theology, man. Not just graduated in theology as my degree, but I graduated with honors and recognitions. But you know what? As I realize right now, I've wasted my 4 years in the college that I suppose can use my talent to other field. But I was so engrossed, I was so focused, I was so deluded to believe into something that actually don't exist. And the time back in 2005 to 2009, I don't even have, I had a phone that I can use only for calling, texting. I don't even have laptop or whatever. So I rely on whatever books I may find in the library of the college that I went to. Uh, but now that actually the things I knew by doing online research, conferences, videos that I have watched, to me, this is not really even like have influenced me 80-90%, but it's my first hand experience. Through my personal experience that I confirm that what Christians have believed about the existence of God actually is not existent, is a lie. Or we will make it more soft. It's not a lie, but it's a fabricated idea. It's a fabricated idea. You can't prove it. You cannot prove it. You cannot prove it. Even you cry for the whole day with all your logic and reasons. But until then, you cannot prove it. You can argue with me all your testimonies. But until then, you cannot prove it. You're just mumbling words, words that you don't actually understand. So, if you're one of my friends or anybody there and can see me in person, and if you want to argue with me with that, you're just wasting your time. Because if nothing improves in your life and if nothing that you can show to me about your life, then how come that you come to me and try to prove it to me that even yourself, you don't have anything to back you up? If you do that, you're just like filling water into the basket. Yeah. And it seems like after you after you have thrown the broken pieces of glass into the streets and try to find all the pieces to put it together. Yeah. You seem like doing that kind of job, which is very impossible to fix. Yeah, I've been mentioning this one already in my past live streaming. Let me repeat that one again in case you miss. Yeah, Mark Finley was visiting a university in Hungary, and that university, I forgot the name, was known to be the house, the campus of atheist students, atheist professors. They have astronomers, they have geologists, and many different um, categories and directions of study in the college and the university, where like 100% of the population in the campus, including students and professors, were atheists. He was invited to like share some insight about Christianity, and there was this debate to be conducted. But he said during the time when he arrived, that astronomer that is supposed to be scheduled to have a debate with him was busy and was in an important project. So then Mark Finley was even more happy because according to him, and that YouTube video was already uploaded since I was still in the university working as instructor there. That was 2012. Yeah, I just arrived in the university that I work in the past. But university is just third, fourth class university here in Thailand. An irrelevant university, Rajamangala. It's just one of the irrelevant universities here, not that prestigious university. Of course, even the work there is better, but yeah, it makes you more crazy and dumb if you work there. Yeah, students are stupid to the heavens heights. Okay, let's go back there. And when Mark Finley was there and he started to give a lecture, so after his presentation about the God he believes in, there was this one atheist student asked him a question that struck his brain. According to him, you can find that video if you are interested to go further and to prove or to like validate my words here. And Mark Finley was even bragging, yeah, humbly bragging that when God is with you within your side, the sheep can slay dragons. So he like depicted the picture of the atheist students and professors there during the time his lecture was were the dragons and he was the sheep. He was he was he was the lamb. The lamb can slay dragons, according to him. The lamb can slay dragons. I never find Mark Finley that funny, but now I realize that it's either he was pretending or he was absolutely stupid. And he said, the student asked him a question and said, Pastor or Mr. Finley, I don't know how to call you properly, but well, this is my question. According to the student, we have searched already the 95% available knowledge in the world, and we cannot find any footprints, any single footprints about the evidence of the existence of God. Then, right there and then, Mark Finley responded and said, well, I would agree with you because you have searched it out that 95% of the available knowledge in the world, and you couldn't find any single footprint about the existence of God. But I would still place my bet, according to him, it's his word. I would still place my bet in the remaining 5% of the knowledge that you haven't searched out well, that perhaps the existence of God is there. So imagine 95% of the knowledge available in the world, according to the atheists, the people who are searching for meaning and something in life. but they couldn't find any single footprint about the evidence of God. And so this religious man, this man of God, Mark Finley, would place his bet in the remaining 5% of the available knowledge that the scientists and the atheists are still searching. If God's existence cannot be found, rather, I'm sorry for my grammar. If the existence of God cannot be found in that 95% available knowledge in the world, how tiny, how micro is the chance to find his existence in that remaining 5% available knowledge in the world? If the 95% knowledge in the world you cannot find God, how much more in that remaining 5%? Don't you see the logic there? Don't you see the logic there? If 95% cannot be, that the existence of God cannot be found, then how much more in the remaining 5%? And if there is an existence of God in that remaining 5%, then I'm sure that the image and the character of God is not the same of how the Bible is depicted, of how the Bible is depicting about an image of God. And you tell me that your God is loving, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's just an imaginary thoughts, fabricated stories by lunatic writers in the past. But if you'd convince me that he is real, according to my first-hand experience, he is not real. God does not exist in my personal experience. But according to the gossips and testimony of the people out there, as you believe in, that he is real. Of course, we're not running out of numbers of lunatics. Lunatics people exist since from the past until our generation today. Otherwise, we don't have these existing problems around us. I would rather be misunderstood by all people, but I don't want to be branded as scam individual when I get old. I stand to what I see is right. I stand the truth to what I understand is real. But I don't just receive information and messages from the lunatics and from the gossipers. Let me tell you that, frankly. I hope this live stream will be viral and people will be able to watch this about the truth and reality. You're just facing a virtual reality. When you gamble yourself about faith, when you gamble yourself about salvation, that you are dreaming of that heaven, that city of Jerusalem full of gold, ornamented with these different precious stones, these are fantasy. This is not real. Wake up. You've been asleep for a long time while your eyes are wide awake, worshiping the God you worship in the church. But actually, you have been asleep since the time you received that information as absolute truth. I hope that you will gain your consciousness. And what I'm doing here is just an eye opener. I'm not thinking into putting religion. I don't even. What? I don't care about religion and God that you believe in. And why should I put up my own? I'm not convincing anyone here to join my cause. I don't have any cause. I'm doing YouTube videos to have some documentation that I can look back in the future when I get old. I will see my younger self in the past doing this kind of work, and that will motivate me to live longer. This is my purpose. Why? If my purpose is to earn money here, I only make 1 cent, 2 cents in one live streaming, or maybe 5, 8 videos in a month that I'll be uploading in my channel. I only make 10 cents. How can I make money with that? I do forex trading, and every time I reach 400, 500, $600, my account got burned from small deposits. So now I'm tired, so I will not do it anymore. So I'll just enjoy here gardening. As long as I still have the job, I can still eat and can harvest from the garden. So that's it. And let's get back there about Mark Finley. Yeah, I said my I would still place my bet in that remaining 5% of the knowledge that you haven't explored yet, that somehow the existence of God or the footprints of his existence can be found, can be seen there, can be proven there in that remaining 5%. But my further question, because the scientists or the atheist students failed to ask follow-up question to him. Well, do you think that if the existence of God can be proven in the remaining 5% of the knowledge there, do you think that the God you might see there is the same God as being described in the Bible? So that's another question. That's another problem there. What if there is a God, but it's a different God to what is being depicted in the Bible? So you have another problem. And Mark Finley said, if God doesn't exist and then I believe it to the last breath of my life, then we are all equal. You who don't believe God, you both dead, and me, and then the end is the same. But if God exists, then I will be resurrected and I'll have immortal life, and then you don't, because you don't believe God. And to me, and that is very funny logic to of Mark Finley. Yeah, but the problem is, do you think the God you might find in that remaining 5%, if there is a chance that you will see him and that he exists in that remaining 5%, do you think that the God you might find there is the same as being depicted in the Bible? That's another question. A question that will help you struggle about, and that will place your faith in doubt, because there is no existence of God, and perhaps if there is in that remaining 5%, how sure you are that the God you might find there is the same as being described in the Bible? That's a question now. And how will you do it? And how will you resolve it? Yeah, it's a struggle. The problem now, most Seventh-day Adventists, not just the members, but even the pastors, they don't even know how to defend themselves. Most of them are idiots. They're not reading their Bible. They just have some fun games in the church. Their program are so weak. They're not spiritually fattened. They're not, yeah, I can tell you that from a distance. From a distance, I can tell you that. I can see the evidence. They're crumbling. They have this group, because my mom is very active right now. And he was, and she was, and she is manipulated and has been taking advantage of her potential in the group, cooking and everything, making follow up with the group. And you know what? They've been praying, they've been worshiping, they've been crying to the Lord for help, but still they are disorganized. Imagine that. If God exists and if prayers is true, then their prayers must be heard. Then there will be unity within themselves. But now they separate themselves. They make quarrel and conflict with one another. Just imagine that. And then you blame that because of Satan. That's why we are not united. That's stupid. Don't worry, I'll have another live streaming, and it will be really particular on that. I will break down all the details so that you will see yourself. Not just Adventist Christians, but the remaining other Christians. You have been asleep for long years. You have been asleep for long years while your eyes are wide awake as you worship your God in the church or in the congregation that you belong in. And that's funny, right? We are very like enthusiastic individuals, like propagating the messages, the truth, like preaching the gospel. But even you within yourselves, you don't have the gospel and you don't live with the gospel. Yeah, it's funny. I find it hilarious. I tell you that. I find it hilarious. Christians are funny. I find it hilarious, man. So tonight we will be moving out our carrot seedlings from that first two large pots to here. In case you might ask it your friends, it's holiday here, December 5. It's the birthday of Ramanai, uh, the late king of this country, and he's being venerated and glorified and worshipped by the old generation here in this country. And he is highly respected because of his good and vast contribution to the development of this country. He is considered as the father of the time. He died at an old age, 86 plus. Now he was succeeded by his son. It's an old man now as well. So what I plant there? I'm still thinking. What I plant there? Top. You know what? Now that I realize that I believe the doctrine about Adventism, about the advent of God, Christ is coming, all these 28 fundamental doctrines, state of the dead, resurrection, the Sabbath, the Ten Commandments, creation, everything crumbles when I realize that these are not all true. These are all just fabricated, making up stories by lunatic people in the past. And I can prove it through my first-hand experience, not just gossip or maybe hearing someone preaching in YouTube. No. I base all my claims through first-hand experience. Because the picture
of my dad when he was suffering of cancer was so vivid to me. How faithful he was until his death to the God he worshiped, to the God where I can say have to be blamed for the 7 consecutive failure harvest of our cornfield. We opened 2 mountains, planted around 2-3 sacks of corn seeds, and that can amount to million during that time back in late 1990s. If those harvests were successful and productive, then it can translate to million or even bigger than that. 7 consecutive croppings, not just one cropping, not just 2 croppings, not just 3, 4, but 7 consecutive croppings of our cornfield. And I think every time I would share that story to Adventist people, I don't think if they believe it. Maybe they think I was just fooling around, fabricating the story. Well, wait. That your Bible might be the one fabricating truths, not me. Because I was so conscious and I was the eyewitness of the failures we have in the farm. My mom was even suggesting to my dad to change plants, to change to vegetables instead of corn. But my dad said, "Oh, you doubt about your prayers? Imagine that. You doubt about your prayers. You belittle your God. Imagine, imagine how big the faith he was. Do you doubt about your God? And even in our house, YouTube friends, we cannot even play music like Air Supply, Bon Jovi, or whatever. Me and my younger aunt, the youngest sister of my mom, especially if my dad is in the house, we are singing religious songs from the hymnals. Yeah, see? Because he is upset if we sing secular songs, because according to my dad, that upset the Holy Spirit's presence in the house. Now I tell you how faithful when it comes to good deeds inside and out within the hearts of my dad and his outlook in life. Everyone is welcome to come into the house. He was even helping my uncle and my aunt to study, but unfortunately, my aunt decided to get married at early age of 18 years old. So it's my uncle and me. We went to college. We finished our degrees as theologists, but I was ahead of him. But his his outlook, his vision, his mission in our village was so big. He said he would buy a jeepney. It's like a public vehicle in our country, and extend and enlarge our house to house many visitors. And then he will be the major sponsor of the church. And I'm the only child biologically. So he said, I will support other students whom parents cannot help financially, then I will send them to school. So that's his plan. And he even said, son, all this work that I'm doing right now, you're the only boy who will inherit all these assets when I'm gone. So take care of it. But I want you to learn doing this work while I'm still alive and while you are still young. And this is the thing that my father left me, know how to do gardening and farming. Because I grew up in a farm, I live in a farm, and I was raised by uh, parents who are farmers. My mom has this green thumb, and even my grandmother. So, yeah, I was forced to learn this work in the farm. All different types of works, from seeding corn, from planting, not seeding, from planting, weeding, fertilizing, harvesting, everything. All kinds of work in the farm. I knew how to do it until now because it's like more than a decade since I was a kid. I was a small kid that I was taught to, to do this work until I was high school and partly in my college years because during summertime I was busy selling books, religious books in our literature program, summer literature program. But there were vacation that I spent my time with dad and mom in the farm. But in my college years, we don't have much of that bonding because I was away with them. I was in my college summer program. I only have 2 3 days to stay with them if I visit the house and then went back to the campus until my father died. I was in the field doing Bible study, preaching about the coming of the Lord while my dad was suffering of cancer back home. That's the fact. March 2008. That was March 30 at 4 a.m. early dawn. My friend who was assigned in a distant place like 50 kilometers away from our location received a text from one of my uncles that please tell Filmar his father is gone. I had that feeling already that morning, and then I was told by my colleague in the field, he's a half Filipino, half American. He said he can speak Bisaya, yeah, but we speak English Bisaya most of the time. He said, "Brother, I have an important thing to tell you, but I hope you have something already in your mind, and I have to tell you that just like don't react extremely, but yeah, we all understand that we have this common denominator which is death." And I know I knew already from then. From there, okay, yeah, your dad just died. It's 4 a.m. in the morning, and you know what? My eyes are wide open, but I lost my vision that morning. I look around as if like I cannot differentiate the colors of the leaves and the bark of the trees. Yeah, my mind was surrounded with cloud and yeah, it's vague. I said, well, this was the thing I asked to God, that let my father live and witness me marching during my graduation day. But my dad died a year ago before I can march in my graduation day. Where was God? If he was real, and if he was real, if he is real, and if he really listened to your prayers, then there will be something that happened that day. But there's nothing that happened that day. No. If you argue with me, unless you have the same experience that you ask your parent to live until that day that you want them to witness something from you, and then they died ahead of that day, and so you can say, oh, I can relate to you, brother, the same exactly the story that I have, but still I cling to my faith to God. But if you don't have that same experience and you are so arrogant to tell me and argue with that, fuck off. I don't need you. You're just one bunch stupid idiot guy who try to prove something out of your empty thumb. Yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah. So, you have something to claim, but you cannot even prove it. Fuck off. Even Bible scholars of other Christians who have many PhDs, including Adventists, cannot even prove a concrete evidence of what they believe in about the existence of God. They're just like roaming around with their explanations, blah and blah, 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 all these things. But they cannot even hit the target. Now you tell me that it is really proven, that it is really legit of what you claim about the existence of God. Yeah, it is a legitimate scam that runs through history. From the first it was invented, it was coined, until our generation today. Bunch of lunatics, generation after generation, that can maintain this truth as an absolute to manipulate the minds of the delusional people who suffered a lot in life and tried to find someone to lean on during their hardships and struggling situations. There's only one thing I regret. Why I was introduced to a God, and why I grew up in a family that fears God. Because if I did not grow up in a family like that, I might perhaps living a life that is successful, a life that is full of satisfaction, can help many people, no problem with money, helping many causes, and yeah, generating wealth. But now I was even tricked and manipulated and was taken advantage with my money and my time just for the religious organization. But the people behind abandoned me when I was caught with car accident, and then later on I lost my job in the university. Where was this guy, man? Where are these guys now?
But during the time that we went together and worked in the religious organization, they have these sweet mouths with sweet words. But right now, they're still receiving VIP privileges, VIP treatment within the denomination, and they still exist with their position that is somehow they even use it as power, as opportunity to control people. See that? And you hear, and you will hear these guys in the podium in the pulpit as if like a fallen angel. You tell me that you disagree with me because you have your own reasons. I don't care. I don't care. As long as my reasons are based on my first hand experience, I have no doubt about it. Because the people out there, and that includes you, perhaps your reasons is based on testimonies of others and gossip from others, not your first hand experience, period. And that's a difference between you and me. You don't try to open your brain to be conscious about the things that surrounds you, but rather you have been asleep into thinking that you realize the truth is what you have in your hand because your eyes are wide awake when you worship, but your brain is not working properly to think of those things that you are supposed to think, but you fail. And that's the most evident, the most obvious difference between you and me. I use my brain to think, to balance, to weigh down things. You use your brain to incline on the bias. See, I use my brain to think, to balance things, to weigh down things, to consider, to do further research, to put things into a balance, to see which one that matters. But your brain you use to incline thing before making conclusion based on my first-hand experience, not from the gossip of others. But you think and you believe and you incline your principle and your faith in the bias. That word alone, we will not find a wholesome conclusion to that. But people out there who are my friends and believe in God, my friendship to you does not depend on religion or in a religiosity or spirituality. It doesn't matter to me. As long as you are good, as long as you are behaving well, we can agree on some other things, then we stay there. But if it matters to you and you don't like to make friends with me because my direction is different, then fuck off. I don't care about you as well. And to all my Adventist friends, if you are praying right now about my situation, please stop it. Because my only wish is that later on you will open my you that later on you will open your brain, you will open your mind as I did.
And that's my only wish. That's my only wish, that you will open your mind, you will open your brain as I did. But I think you have to go through experience as I did as well before you begin to realize that you are in perhaps a, a shaky direction. If you cannot prove it, then shut up, according to many scientists. Because we scientists, according to them, not my word, if we don't know, we shut up because it needs further research, it needs further study. And so we need more time to look into things that perhaps might give us a clue of what's in there. But Christians, if they don't understand the thing, they would say, ah, there is God behind this. See how idiotic that idea is? See how idiotic that that word, that conclusion, ah, there's God between this, behind this, because we cannot explain. Things that cannot be explained belongs to God. Wow, you're funny. So yeah, it's funny. That's a kind of wisdom that God gave you after worshiping and believing Him for many years, and still you have that kind of idiotic word. Ah, if we cannot explain, this belongs to God. Well, I cannot argue with your idiocy as well. That's beyond my tolerance. Ah, you're all funny. We can talk long day here. Still, I'll find you as hilarious as you are. So friends, we're ready for our carrots to be moved out here from this pots. Yeah, from these pots. We'll be moving out some seedlings here. I think we will do it tonight. And then we will move out the seedlings, some of the seedlings here, and we'll move out there. So it's a big one, so we'll see. Yeah, it's really funny. To me, it's really funny.
There are a few dead ones. I mean, like this carrot seedlings that I think for applying too much water. So from now on, I'll not do that. I will not do that. I would gently water down this pot here. So that's my plan. It comes and it goes. So I will remove the. So I'm done all the. And this is the thing, YouTube friends. If you have this kind of direction, people will brand you as or brand you as evil and will put you in the list of blacklisted individuals and you are not given a chance to talk in public. Why? Because they're afraid that you might influence the congregation. That means that they don't have the supporting evidence to back up their claim and they don't know how to defend themselves. That's the clear understanding there. Adventists or any other Christians, they're afraid to invite someone to talk against their religious faith because they're afraid that the people of their congregation might stop going to church. And what happened to the tithes, to the bonding, to everything? So that's why they have to really take care of the congregation, especially the pastors. Yeah,
You're doing your job, bro. You're doing your job well. Keep doing it. But if you tell me that I've never seen such stupid people in my life.
It's the problem, you know, if I stay active in poker, this garden will be abandoned.